Sony somehow managed to give us the worst fucking news ever possible, by removing physical media on January 2028. So we got 2 years from now, and I want to have a serious fucking discussion about that because, as you can see, I collect games. I like to touch the game. I like to fucking see the game every fucking day. I wake up. I'm that kind of person. For example, if I was reading books, I would never want to buy a book digitally, and read it from the screen. I don't want to do that. So let's actually find the positives. Let's start with the positives of that situation because I always think like that. Whatever happens, I always try to find something positive with that. I usually find myself when playing a game, because today there are so many, streaming and all that, and you buy Essential Plus or whatever, you buy game digitally sometimes, you want to switch your game, and you go to the menu and then you're like, oh, I have to actually put on the disc, just like the old times actually. Kind of forgot how that feeling was somehow, because, for example, I play Marvel vs. Capcom on PS5, that is bought digitally. I play Stardew Valley, that comes with Plus. So I switch games, really fast, and that's good. And sometimes, you might be with your friend playing, and someone has, to stand up and take the disc and put in, it's nothing, it's like 3 minutes, but, I guess that's what's positive about that, right? And another thing that I can think is playing games midnight. For example, you buy GTA, you can play, instead of waiting, some hours to wake up and actually get the game from the store or whatever. You just play, like a sad bastard, in the night. Yeah, these are the only positives I can think of. So let's go to the negatives now, all right? First of all, for example, if I have here, I have guitar here. I want to give this game to my friend. So you remember back in the day, Sony mocked Xbox. They had the idea of locking games and all that shit. And Sony made a little joke.
This is how
How
you share
selling
your
games
games on
just
PS4.
give it like that. And now the parody themselves. They parody themselves. These fucking guys. One thing is you can't gift a game to your friend. You can't give them. You can't borrow. And I'm not even the type of guy that borrows games. I just like to have my own game. Wake up every day, see it on my library. That's something meaningful for me. Now you can't do that. Now you just buy it digitally. I understand that some people don't have the time, they're working all day or their fucking dog chew their game or their kids throw the dish from the balcony. I've heard all that shit from real examples. But, there are tons of people that collecting games, selling games. That's really sad. Another thing you can't fucking do is, I remember back in the day, we said about the midnight release. I remember back in the day, I live in a country where we don't have GameStop and all that, but we had video clubs, And by going to the video club, you could actually see all the games. I knew all the fucking games and in the art boxes, from back in the day. This is the thing that I wanted to discuss that no one talks about it actually. Back in the day, you can go to the video club or local store or whatever to buy something. Back in the day, I was renting games with my uncle, so I knew every game. I just turned the box, from the other side, just a little description or some screenshots. It wasn't always accurate, of course. Sometimes it was something to hype you or whatever, or you got an over zoom fucking screenshot that you can't see anything. But at least the box represent what you were going to play. Nowadays, if I want to buy a fucking game, and I go to the PlayStation store and I'm like, I want to buy a game. Let's see what's there, And I go there and I can't fucking use that menu. That menu is always fucking glitched or something. Because at least as you go further, it gets so big. Somehow the store and the PS5 or whatever can't fucking handle that, For example, I press on a game to watch the trailer to see what's that about. And what happens is the fucking video lagging, and I don't fucking know what's happening. I'm stuck there trying to fucking, see what this game is about. The worst fucking thing is when I go back, I press the circle button to go back, to check the other games from where I was, but the menu sends me, to the first fucking game again. I remember one day, I was trying to do that and did it like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, I can't fucking do it. And another thing is that the games there, I don't want to fucking buy a $1 game that someone made in their mom's basement. I want to see real games. Digitally now, it's so hard to find what game you want to play. Out of the 5,000 sale games, and you got DLC there. The filters suck. You can't find the game that you want to play or buy. Especially for collectors, this shit sucks, dude. There's no reason to buy special edition, or ultimate edition if you don't have something, like fucking thing, Like, for example, you have here Mortal Kombat Collector's Box, it has a statue in it, and this and that. But now all you get is a fucking box of skins, That's why I'm not fucking buying GTA 6 Ultimate Edition. There's no fucking reason to do it. There's no fucking reason to do this, I think. That's my take on it. I think we're gonna get used to it at some point. But all that happened, so fast. I was expecting at least PlayStation 6 to have a disc drive, and that's not gonna happen. It seems really weird because of the GTA backlash of GTA 6, including a fucking code inside. And it's so weird that happened all so fast, Sony after that revealing that they're making, the future digital. Let's see, alright, let's try to be positive about it, I guess. And let's just voice our opinion. Something might change. I don't know. If you think in the past, like Xbox did, because of the huge backlash, people were canceling their pre-orders for the consoles and all that, they changed. I don't think that's possible. So that's the best thing we can do. Let them know that we don't agree with that, we don't like it, and we actually want the fucking discs. The news we got that some license ended or something happened with Sony, and now the movies that you bought cannot have access to. So you wasted all that fucking money thinking that you own this movie forever, but that's not true. It's not fucking yours anymore. That's gonna happen again. That's the scariest part, actually. That's the scariest part, alright? Because collectors, we've had, our favorite games. Games are getting shitty. To me, my opinion, I don't have a lot of PS5 games. So yeah, let's just see how that turns out, and let's hope for the best.